Awesome. Well, thanks for coming and chatting. Do you want to start by introducing yourselves and then maybe we can ask some questions or, yeah.
Go ahead, Leah.
All right, Leah Lipska, board clerk, been on the board 12 years, I think. I think that's where I'm at.
I'm Carly Fisher. This is the end of my first term. I'm running for the second term this April. I have a junior here at the high school and a college freshman.
Oh, I didn't say that part. I have a graduate, a senior, 7th grader, and a 3rd grader.
And I'm Adam Mertz, also coming up on the end of my first term. It's been a real treat, especially serving along these two. And Leah's got such extensive board knowledge. It was fun to walk in with her and then to go through this process with Carly. So excited to be back here again. I have a junior at the University of Georgia who graduated. There's one other kid. That one. But it's cool to be here. Thanks for having us today.
Yes,
we're all
thank
really
you.
excited to just hear from you as much as for you to hear from us.
Does anyone have a question to start us off that I want to ask?
Do have someone on behalf of the council, and then if you guys think of questions, is now a good time to start with those?
Yeah.
For sure.
I guess, how did you get here? What was your path to being board members?
You want me to go first? So it took me 3 tries to get on the board. I ran for an open seat. I ran and didn't know what I was doing. And then the 3rd time, there's actually, we're on a 3-panel or 3-run. So most of the times 2 people are up, and every time 3 people are up, 1 people run. I don't know why. We've had runoff elections twice. But I actually ran, I was a state employee in Act 10. Do you guys know what Act 10 is? All right. For those that don't, if you're a union person in the state of Wisconsin, Act 10 stripped collective bargaining rights. And one of the first things that the school district did was eliminate recess because it was considered teacher prep time. I had 2 small boys. Eliminating recess was a real big strain for me. So I ran for the board based on that and learned right away, don't run when you have an agenda because you're not going to get what you want to get done. Not necessarily. So that's how I got here. And then I've just stayed because I have 4 kids, and by the time I finish with the last one, I'll probably have grandkids coming through the district. So, oh God, that's scary. I'm in for the long haul.
This was never something that I thought I would do. I never saw myself as a put my name on a yard sign kind of person, or sit in front of a group of people and put my name on a ballot. But I, over the years, had done, especially after 2016, I realized that I needed to do things to improve my community. I needed to participate more. And then around that time, I got very involved in gun safety advocacy and did a lot of work there. I ended up being the state lead for the state of Wisconsin for Moms Demand Action, and that taught me a lot about service and advocacy, working with people, working with different kinds of people, making a case, making an argument, and just doing things to improve the entire community. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of stressful work. I work full time. It was getting up at 5 to do the work early in the morning. It was doing it late at night. And as I started to look around and figure out, are there other places closer to home that I can still serve my community, this opportunity came up. And again, I never thought that I would do something like this, but there was a clear need, and it was at a time when I was worried about, it was at the end of COVID, and I was worried about our community. I was worried about schools and safety for teachers, for our kids, and some of the cultural things that were coming in, and I didn't necessarily have a specific agenda. I just knew that like this kind of work needs good people, and it's been always been interested in education. I've always thought it's one of the most important investments that a community can make. And this felt like the right place to steer my service.
That's great. Kind of a similar journey as Carly in terms of being very career focused early on. I was in sports media for a long time, and it was just kind of an erratic, all on schedule, weekends, nights, whatnot, and I really had to focus on that. And when I got out, I realized that there was an opportunity there, and what was I going to fill my time with? And I got involved a little bit more with my church, with the charity program that we run there, raising funds for different causes in the community and regionally and even internationally. Got involved with Neighbors Helping Neighbors and the Closed Closet before there was a Neighbors Helping Neighbors, and helped get or expand into food, expand into social services, and saw a lot of the needs in town. And that was sort of the genesis of my involvement in nonprofit work and community engagement. I think stepping back, we had Siobhan and Delaney, and just saw what an awesome district this was. Really great teachers, great direction, a lot of opportunity there, and I wanted to be a part of it as much as anything. A lot of the same reasons that Carly mentioned in terms of timing, coming out of COVID, threats to public education, making sure that there's enough money coming in from the state to support what we want, I know everyone in this room wants to achieve, which is really rigorous curriculum, high achieving, a lot of extracurricular opportunities. Like, these things took a long time to build up, and I know everyone sitting up here will do everything they can to make sure that those continue and even accelerate. So it's been a real treat. I will say that I prefer running unopposed with these three versus 11 people that ran for the 3 seats last time. That was a really heightened time. Coming out of COVID, everyone was really motivated to dig in and change. I know there were some people that were really upset with school closures. Understandably, a lot of kids suffered through that. And others who had different ideas on where they just wanted to take the district. And I'm really pleased with the group that wound up on the board, and also appreciative of the people who ran and brought up a lot of different issues that I think that we've all had in our minds during our term, that even those people didn't get in, they're bringing really important concerns from the community forward.
And I guess, could you speak a little bit about what exactly board members do? Like, dandelion, broader scope, whatever you have.
Sure. So what the board, our whole goal is write policy, and we actually supervise Dr. Salerno, which is hard for him to have 7 bosses, but that's our focus, right? That's the whole point to a school board. Now, do we do other things? Yes. We have committee meetings. A lot of work gets done at committee, so that when I first started on the board, we had board meetings that went till 2 o'clock in the morning. They were not necessarily productive. So we've tried to streamline that so we're not, there till 2 a.m. So we do a lot of work at committee. We have an education committee, a finance committee, safety and wellness, personnel, and education. Building and grounds. Yeah, that one's, if you want to talk about HVAC systems and school buses, that's the committee for you. So that's what we do. That's it. That's our main focus. I don't know if you guys have stuff to add, but that's.
And so, two things. One, I also see that there's a community engagement role, right? We are the community representatives and community oversight for the school district. So as we are working with Dr. Salerno and the staff, we are bringing the community concerns and priorities and desires. I also see that going the other way too, where the ambassadors for the district back to the community. Part of that is legislative advocacy, which is something that is like high on my mind right now, given that we're at the start of a state budget biennium. The new legislature has just been seated, and there are a lot of budget negotiations that are starting up right now, and that has a deep impact on all schools across Wisconsin, including ours. So that's part of the other role that I see. And then there was a second thing I was going to say, but I lost it, and I'll let Adam go.
It'll come back.
if I come.
Yeah, no, they summarized it very well. And you're talking about like, community, administration, teachers, students, all these, there's a lot of, most of the time these things are unified, and it's our job to find those pathways of unification, but there are different interests at different times, and you have to evaluate those. I think the one other thing that comes to mind a lot for board role is thinking very high level strategy. Your teachers do an outstanding job. Administration has a plan that they want to get across. We're kind of there to say, like, what if, a lot of the time. Okay, have we thought about this? Would bring in different ideas to consider and to talk through, and to try to get to a better path of, there's always room for improvement, and I really appreciate that this district is focused on that, looking for new ways and better ways to help you all succeed.
So you mentioned your recess agenda. Apparently this is maybe not a topic you want to elaborate on, but is there any specific continuity you hope to preserve or change you want to enact in your continuing?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think we always want to be growing and changing, right? The baccalaureate program's coming in next year, and the way that we teach education is the same way it's been taught for ever and ever, which is setting kids up to work in like an assembly line, so we really do need to kind of change the way we do education. And I think we've done a lot of that, change the way you used to sit in class and you were in class for exactly 57 minutes or whatever, and then you went to your next class, and so changing up the schedule, things like that. I mean, that's when you get out into the workforce, that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be I go here and then I do this. I mean, you do have jobs that are like that, but a lot of jobs are not like, I do this and then I do this and then I do this and then I do this. You got to pivot, and so I don't know. Like, some of the things I came in and wanted to do, like when I started, we didn't have 4K. Now we have 4K. We didn't have summer school. Now we have summer school. So we're just always constantly evolving. I don't know if that really answers your question, but
part of, I guess how I would answer that question is part of what we do is set vision and direction for the entire district, and a lot of that comes through and is expressed in the strategic plan. So if you take a look at the website and look at the strategic plan, you'll see we've kind of set out these 4 pillars of priorities, where it is student achievement, I wrote them down, learning and growth, well-being of our students and our staff, facilities and finances, and community engagement. And so to me, those are really the areas that we focus on and continue to look for specific ways we can grow and make improvements in there. So I wouldn't say that I have any dramatic changes in mind. It is just continuing to push and improve in there. And part of what we did in that, as we set those priorities, is also look to try to figure out, like, we have 3 what we're calling power goals, where we've determined with a little more specificity, these are some areas where we would like the staff and the district to focus on. One of the ones that I felt pretty strongly about was increasing students' sense of belonging and well-being, and doing what we can to make sure that all of you feel welcome, engaged, part of the community, and safe.
Yeah, well said, Carly. I was interested to hear Leah's view because she's been on the board so long. It's awesome. She's got such history, institutional knowledge about what we've done before, what maybe hasn't worked. She knows policies inside and out, so she's a real asset on the board. And for Carly and I, we're so recent to it, and part of the reason why I ran was there is such a learning curve through this. I mean, this is a complex business and a complex set of facts and everything else that you need to get your arms around. And I think it took probably a year and a half until you really get your arms around what's going on, because remember, we're dropping in for meetings. It's not our full-time day job or anything like that. So I'm looking forward to continuing a lot of what we've started in the first term. And you think about cool things like the new grade school building that's going to go up, that's going to really add a lot to the district. You think about the evidence-based grading that's coming in and wanting to make sure that that's done well and done in a way that helps you all out, that's not a burden on teachers, that really prepares you for the real world. IB coming in more with trades and making sure that we have some really good career pathways that way. So it's really building on what we've done. We've got some good momentum going and really excited to continue it. And I don't think you can underscore the inclusion aspect enough. This district has stood up time and again for people from all different backgrounds and all different belief systems, and you have to have that kind of inclusivity and making sure that people know that they're accepted here. Otherwise, they're not going to succeed.
I think we have time for a couple more questions, 1 or 2. Does anyone have anything? Yeah, go.
I just have a question about like the new projects that you're working on. Like, what are you most excited to really like delve into in your following term?
I'm really excited for the new elementary building. That's been, the ELC has been something that's been on our radar for at least the 12 years I've been on, where we're like, we gotta do something, we gotta do something. And we've been holding it together with chewing gum and duct tape for so long that it's exciting that we finally were able to go forward. I mean, we did a survey and it was, 33% tear it down, 33% keep it, 33% I don't know, every time we ran the survey. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. I'm also throwing my name in because I'd like the building named after me, but it's fine.
We can do that.
Right? So that's one of the projects I think I'm most excited to see where it goes. Especially how well this building went. I hope it goes just as well.
Very similar. I was gonna say the same thing. The other thing that like I personally geek out about is the legislative advocacy stuff, just because I come from that kind of like advocacy background, and so and I just like social studies was my thing in high school, so I just love the process and the building and all of that stuff, and this is a great time for that. We spent a day last week. We spent all day at the state capitol meeting with legislators to talk about school funding. Got to introduce them to several teachers, which was awesome for them to hear about. And as this legislative session goes on, there are things that sometimes it can feel like you're beating your head against the wall, right? Because how much influence can I really have on Robin Voss? But at the same time, at the state level, these are people who live in our community. These assembly members, Sandy Pope lives right here. I know she's not a representative anymore. And so there is, I've seen it happen. There is an opportunity to actually make a difference that benefits all of us.
Yeah, and that's a great point. I was hinting at that at the beginning of just structurally what the funding system is for schools in this state. There's a state superintendent race that's also happening on April 1st. I'd urge you to do your research on that, those of you who are 18, and figure out which pathway that you want to go down, because they're two pretty distinct pathways, and that's as far as I'll get into that race at this point. I think a lot of the stuff that we've talked about, I mean, I don't really have a favorite. That's like picking your kids. Siobhan's probably my favorite. But I am just really interested in keeping this momentum going forward. I feel like we have a lot of things happening on a lot of different levels. I am interested in the future. I'm interested in, I went to a couple of seminars on AI and what that's going to do to education, both as a benefit and as an issue that we need to solve in the classroom, what it can do for teachers to make lives easier, how we can use it as a tool, a positive tool. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff that goes through my mind as well about, as we touched on, transformation of education and just continuing to create an environment for you all that will prepare you for the real world. And I was one of those kids who just loved learning for the sake of learning, and that's awesome. But it's our job to make sure that you're prepared to go out there and not just know a bunch of facts. It's to how you carry yourself professionally, the skill set that you have that I know so many of you are working ahead on, to feel like you're confident in what you can do and confident if it's going to college, career, military, whatever it is, to know that you have that base and that you feel supported through your district, through your time here.
You kind of touched on this a little bit already, but not all of us in here are 18, some of us are.
So I guess my question is like, how can we get our voices heard and get involved in kind of this community and this process, school board?
So we have student reps on all of our committees, and it's fantastic. But if you're going to do it, come, talk, speak, tell us your opinion, because that's why you're there. If we're talking about a subject you're interested in, come to the board meeting. Speak. If it's a committee meeting, you can speak a little more freely. Board meetings are very kind of Robert's rules, very strict, but we have citizens' comments. Come, tell us what you think. If you're like, this policy is dumb and you guys should know why, come and tell us. We don't live in we lived in your shoes a long time ago. So those are great ways to get involved. And you can reach out to Dr. Salerno and be like, hey, I'm interested in this topic. Are they going to talk about it? Which committee's talking about it? Because he knows more than we do what's going to be on our agenda sometimes, I think. So that would be my recommendation.
Or we have email addresses too.
Yeah.
You're always welcome to email us, and if there is something, organize your friends too. Get people that that are interested in the same thing, because a lot of times it's great to hear one voice, but if we're hearing from 10 voices on the same topic, that's helpful information as well.
And because we have district emails, you can email us from your district email. I know sometimes you can't always email out, but we have district emails, so.
Yeah, great points. Really, we try to be accessible. We all have day jobs and are very busy, so we're not able to probably be in the schools as much as we want for face-to-face, but I'd ask you to invite us back as often as you want to have us in here, especially if there's issues that are hot on your mind that you want us to know about. We'll come to you too. Love to have you in that public forum so that everyone can hear what you're talking about, but if it's more of a discussion item and you just are curious about how things are going, we'd love to come in and visit with you all too.
We love to be invited.
Yes.
We love, if you're like, hey, our class is doing this thing, I will 100% rearrange my schedule to come see whatever cool thing you guys are doing.
I'll add one more to that last question is, if you're 18, you can now run for the board.
Oh,
That is true.
wow.
And in fact, that's
There you
happening in
go.
a number of communities around the state.
That'd be cool. Awesome. Oh, we got one more question and then we'll probably have to wrap it up for time.
Do you think that our school district will be impacted by federal changes to things like the Department of Education? And if so, what ways?
I don't know that we know yet.
No.
I think that's the unknown, right? Probably, we probably are, but to what degree? I honestly, I don't even want to guess, because my brain goes worst case scenario. So it's going to be kind of a wait and see situation, I think. Now you might know more because you pay way more attention.
No, I think that's the challenge, is that I think we know the directions that the administration wants to go. I think the thing that we are, in my mind, is that executive orders aren't laws, and so we have a sense of where risks potentially are, but we also have state laws to follow that protect us in a lot of ways. And so I think our approach is we will follow state and federal law. These things are not state and federal law. And I'm personally committed to do whatever we can to continue to protect all of our students, every single one, and follow what actual past laws are. I worry about funding. I do worry about that, and there isn't a lot we can do to mitigate the potential for some of that. Our funding, luckily, at the federal level, it's not a huge amount of funding. It would hurt, but yeah, those.
I saw a graphic DPI put out, we get about $1 million in federal funding, which is a lot, but in the amount of millions of dollars that it takes to run a school district, it will hurt, but it won't cripple us. We just might have to make some adjustments to things and.
Yeah, I was trying to pull up that graphic right now, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you had that right at your disposal. It was just put out the other day of which districts get how much money throughout the state. A lot comes through food service,
Mhm.
and what was the other main one?
Medicaid.
Medicaid, okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm probably to Carly's earlier points, as concerned about what happens at the state level, because that really dictates what occurs in the school. The federal is more of a funding mechanism than anything else. Great question.
I think we're getting close to class time, so thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us today.
Thank you for
Yeah,
having
thanks
us.
for having us.
Thank you for inviting us.